Hello, it's Molly Reamer with Bridget's Grove with an update for 30 Days of Goddess for the summer. And this is hopefully a quick little video just to give you a few updates on the things I've added to the practice, the options that you have, and some encouragement, ideas, resources, and things like that. One of the things that I wanted to affirm is that you may continue using any of the previous resources at any time in any combination of ways. So you can, let's say you maintained a practice in March and then you didn't do it again, that's fine. You can pick back up right now. I sometimes say that, begin where you are with what you have, where you are right now. So let's say it's, June 5th or July 20th. Begin. That's the day. Like that's the day that you're going to begin, and that's fine. So I want to first offer that invitation and encouragement. And I have other resources about commitment and daily devotion and daily practice and, showing up for yourself, keeping the promise to yourself, etc. So I'm not going to reiterate all this. This is just kind of a little snapshot update of the ideas that I have for the summer, but the encouragement is the same. The capsule, the container of 30 Days of Goddess is intended to help you develop a simple, nurturing daily practice that deepens, enriches, and nourishes and supports your connection with the goddess in your life and your own personal experiences on a goddess centered path. So that's what 30 Days of Goddess is about. And the name is simply, a framing of that container and an indicator of making a commitment, et cetera, et cetera. But the 30 days it's almost, a metaphor for an ongoing daily practice, an ongoing daily process of walking a goddess centered path. So, as I said, any of the other resources that I've created at any other point can be blended together, incorporated, used, uh, picked from, abandoned, whatever it is, you can put them together the way you want. And ditto with if you choose to make a booklet, choose to make a prayer book, you can use any of the previous booklet files to make a book. It doesn't have to be the one precisely for July. I did make some changes to the July book layout, and so I did want to show you those and talk about them briefly. But if you have the original PDF from January, it's totally fine to keep using that original PDF from January. One of the things I did want to note is that, let's say you have a partially started book from February and you want to keep working in it, or you have pre-purchased, or not pre-purchased, if you have purchased one of the pre-printed prayer books and you want to use it this month, but the prompts in the front don't line up with the ones that I've created for June or July, I just want to invite you to do that. You can easily print out the prompt page from the PDF file that's included wherever you're watching this video. You can print out just the prompt page and glue it over any other prompt page. So don't get concerned if you have a file that has the quote unquote wrong prompts on it. This is for you. This is about what works for you. And so cut and paste and mix and match and create and share and explore the things that make this work for you and that make this your own. And so I did get new books printed for June, new daily practice prayer books, companion spiral bound. Those are available in the Etsy shop, which is um, bridgetsgrove.etsy.com, and there will be a pre-printed book available for July as well. But again, you can use a book that you bought in March, and all you really have to do to make it sync up with where I personally am, and you don't have to be synced up with where I personally am, but if you want to be synced up with where I personally am, then all you have to do is print that one page out from the file and stick it in your book. Boom, you're ready. So, and that's not to minimize, I feel like sometimes in my effort to make this accessible and adaptable for everybody, I inadvertently like minimize it or simplify it or make it seem like it's not important or whatever. And honestly, this practice for me has been really life changing. And when these new little books came in, I looked at them and I came to get Mark and I said, oh my gosh, this is the best thing I've ever made in my life. So that's honestly, in many ways, how I feel about this whole 30 Days of Goddess experiment, practice, etc., that has kind of started in January, but it has now extended over the course of this year. Is like, this is the best thing I've ever made in my life. So I really care about it, but I also really care about keeping it accessible, making it open and welcoming and adaptable and flexible for anybody who wants to participate in any way. So I don't mean to minimize the depth of commitment by saying, boom, now I've got it covered. But at the same time, I don't want it to seem so big and unmanageable that you never get started. So there's a balance there. It's, yeah. So one of the things I changed with the new book is I added a couple pages to the front, one with some reminders, one with a body blessing. I went ahead and added a moon wheel to the front for people who want to track on a moon wheel. If you don't want to do any kind of tracking, it can be cycle tracking, it can be mood tracking, it can be, even could be used for income tracking, moon tracking, divination tracking. It can be used for all kinds of things. You can use that for tracking, habit tracking. If you don't want to, you can just color it pretty the way you want to for the book. I did change the mini rituals on the bottom of the pages compared to previous editions, and that's available. And as I said, the PDF files are available too. Obviously, I prefer this is, this kind of personal use only, not something to be re-uploaded or redistributed to other people. It's for your own personal use. I welcome you to invite other people to join in, but I do encourage you to point them back to the original resource and not copy and save and redistribute PDFs without linking it back to Bridget's Grove and to me as the, kind of like the home place for the practice. And then I added different goddess templates and I added some different prayer cards in the back as well for you. And so that's available pre-printed or as a PDF that you can print out yourself. Do be mindful if you print it out yourself that it is a file that is intended to be printed double-sided and folded in half. So essentially you'll be printing 4 pages per single sheet of paper. So you'll print them out and truly only the first couple pages and the last couple pages matter in terms of the order that they're in. And then the inside pages, it doesn't really matter what order they're in. But so that they're meant to be printed out, so it's 4:1, and then folded in half to make the book. And then there's other resources available for sewing the binding, stapling the binding, whatever you want to do to create the binding. I've made a lot of the books in the past. I'm enjoying the printed version for a variety of reasons, and so those are available. But if you want to print it out, it's there in its entirety. You could also print it out full page and put it in a binder or use it as a bigger page file. But really, the layout is kind of intended to be this four pages per single sheet of 8.5 by 11 paper. And yeah, so it doesn't need to be print double-sided. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a bunch of blank pages because the way the print proof is laid out for you includes blank pages so that you have a backside to create upon. And so if you print the file out full sheets of paper without it being double-sided, you'll end up with a bunch of blank pieces of paper coming out. So that's what that's about. And so this was the book from May. I don't have a July one to show you yet because I'm still working on that, but you may be watching this video in July, and in which case there will be a July book available. And so this is a completed one. Thanks to your suggestions, I changed the text on the bottom page, the little bottom boxes to be magic moments. So what was the magic? What magic did you experience in the day? What did you notice? And then how do I want to feel, which I really adapted or not adapted, got from Danielle Laporte's work with the desire map. And so that how do you want to feel is there. And I do suggest kind of picking that in the beginning of the day, so how do you want to feel today? And writing that down. But again, as I said, one of the things that you can do, this is a smaller handmade one from a couple months ago. This one I dedicated to Ellen of the Ways. And so that was my focus there. This is using one of the original smaller book page files, and it only has one little box and it only has a little tiny box and things like that. That's okay. You're welcome to continue to use that format if you wish to. I find it's personally exciting and fun to have this just grow and evolve and change. And I keep following the inspiration and trusting my instincts and following my heart on it and listening to the goddess and responding to you and responding to my own flashes of inspiration and also to my own practices. I notice like, I think I'd like to have some of this. Then I add it because that's what I like to have. And so this is a smaller book file, and this is another handmade one again with the original small format journal page. This one I was going to show you. You can see how I glued in the prompts to make them correct for the month that we were on. This is the larger format, the card that my son drew as the cover. This is the larger format journal page before there were pre-printed books. And so that file is still available. I'm not like taking anything away. I only keep adding things. And then, as I said, you can mix and match the way, excuse me, you can mix and match the way that meets your needs best. So I did, before I keep going with ideas, I did want us to talk about what else is new for this month, the things that I've added. And so for this month, I have added a deck of, wait a second, I've added a deck of new mini rituals or micro rituals. So there's a deck, I think it's got about 48 little cards in it. Some of them are the ones that are printed at the bottom of the book, of the prayer book. Some of them are just in this little printable deck because they're a little repetitive or similar or whatever, but I went ahead and just made them all available to you because I think that's fun to have those little mini rituals, and you can print those out and then mix and match them as a daily draw in the morning for creating kind of a bite-sized and accessible instant practice of the morning. So you can hop up, you can draw from your little decks, and that can be your 30 Days of Goddess practice right there. The book, the prayer book element, is kind of meant to provide a space for or a synthesization or a integration of everything from the day, things that you've learned, things that you've witnessed, things that you've thought about, your magic moment, the how do you want to feel, the moon, your mood, your affirmation, insight or wisdom, things maybe that you've written yourself or things, prayers that you've read from other books. I consider this practice a companion to my book, Whole and Holy, a Goddess Devotional. And I also have the first volume of the Goddess Devotional as well. And so you may combine your practice with a reading from either one of those books. You may have other inspirational books that you like to read aloud from. There's a whole bunch of mix and match resources available to you that you can use in creating your own daily practice. I find that keeping the prayer book every day is an important part of communion, but also in commitment and keeping up my promise to myself. So we've got the mini rituals is the next new addition for this month. And then the other thing I made for you this month was two decks of affirmation, or two decks. One is an affirmation type deck printable, and the other one is a blessing type deck printable. So they are the same for the most part, word wise. One is just phrased in the first person. So, may I know the wild, ferocious, and tender power of hope. An affirmation, right? And these are drawn from my spontaneous little mini videos that I've made to accompany previous months of the practice. And then I just transcribed what I said. Those videos were all just made spontaneously. I said whatever I felt inspired to say at the moment. And then later I went back through and watched all the videos and typed up what it was that I had said. And then what I had said turned into a little extra deck for you. And so now you can use those as you will. I especially like the teeny tiny version to glue in to the little boxes at the bottom of the prayer book page as an affirmation for the day, but you may also just choose to draw them. And again, like I said, you can mix and match. So you can draw a ritual from the ritual deck, do the ritual, and then you can read aloud the affirmation. And then I previously created and offered prayer card deck as well. So then after you've held you've offered your tiny ritual, You've read your affirmation, you can then read the prayer aloud, and then that can really be a less than 15-minute that that can be a 5 to 10 minute daily practice of settling inward, checking in with yourself, showing up for the goddess, listening for wisdom, and really just centering yourself into your own place of power, into your own seat of power, but also a daily strengthening of faith, a daily deepening of trust, a daily touchstone with spirit, and an affirmation of this goddess based path on which you find yourself. And so I find this daily commitment in some way in this 30 Days of Goddess container really strengthens and supports and deepens and grows something that you may feel, whispering around the edges or dancing in your consciousness. And this brings it forward into the front of your life, into the heart of your days, and provides you this wellspring upon which to approach the rest of your day. So this wellspring of nourishment upon which to draw as you move forward. And so the second deck, really similar text, but is written in the second person instead. So it says things like, may you drop into your heart and let her teach you. So these are more like blessings or benedictions or offerings almost that you're giving to someone else, or that you are receiving. Like, so rather than making a statement and an affirmation type statement, instead it's kind of like, ooh, let me receive this. So depending on your mood, your inclination, your preference, just your personal preference for what you read or say, you may choose one or the other, or you may dip and dive between both of them. So one is written almost like you're having something bestowed upon you, or you're receiving something, and the other one is a statement for you to make. So that's the new things for this month, 3 little decks, and those are really intended for both June and July. I'm not sure if I'll make something additional for July or not, but those are the new resources for June and July's practice. And so I hope you like them. I decided to make those freely available to anyone who wants them, and that is with deep gratitude to my patrons at Patreon. That's patreon.com/Bridget'sGrove. I would not be able to create things like that to give away to people without that base of support from the patrons on Patreon. So thank you, dear patrons, for making these things possible for the wider community as a whole. And so I love you and value you, and thank you for helping boost this up for other people. And again, if you would like to use things like those affirmation cards just for something else, it doesn't have to be a part of you don't have to officially be taking part of a 30 Days of Goddess practice to still use those affirmation cards. Maybe you want to clip them out and send them into birthday cards to your friends, or maybe you want to make them into a little deck with watercolor backgrounds and choose one every day. Maybe you want to stick some around your mirror. Maybe you want to keep them in the cup holder in your car so you can have a little dose of inspiration right before you go to work in the morning. Really, the possibilities are limitless, and you can do what you wish. These are intended to nourish, support, strengthen, and sustain you, not to be prescriptive or dogmatic or tell you that there's a certain way or something that you have to do. So that's what those are for. I'm excited about all of them, and I'm happy to offer those out to you. And I'm really excited about the new books and how they're laid out. And I'm also excited to do some more work on another one for July. That one, I'm going to put little teeny tiny affirmations in the back of, so they can be clipped out directly from the book and put into your little boxes on the bottom of the page. And yeah, so that's what is new for the summer. And may this practice nourish, strengthen, and sustain you. May you make it your own. May you create with joy, and may you feel the touch of the goddess in your days and life. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for taking part in whatever way works best for you. And you can do this. You can show up for yourself. You can make a connection. You can build a practice. You can receive, and you can listen, be inspired, be amazed by the magic that weaves its way through the world every single day. Thanks so much for being here. Bye-bye.